Hey, it is Thursday, January 30th, 2014. Welcome to another Galactic Netcast. This is the Time-Traveling Robots in Space, number 73, and the very last Time-Traveling Robots in Space, unfortunately. We have some bad news. Paul has some other commitments in his life, and we did not want to continue without him, so this is the very last Time-Traveling Robots in Space podcast. But we have some good news, and we'll be announcing that at the end of this particular episode. From Minneapolis, St. Paul, I'm Dave Nelson. Joining me, the other regular co-host of this show, Anessa Moyens from Denton, Texas. Anessa, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. And filling in for Paul is the co-host of the Alien Invasion podcast from Wausau, Wisconsin, Mr. Brad Ludwig. Brad, how are you?
I am doing well, thank you.
I wish Paul was here, but you're the next best thing.
I am Substitute Paul.
Yes.
I think there's a earlier episode where we, I think I had a
You're like
different...
Substitute Swickard?
I'm Substitute Swickard, I think was the name of the episode.
Okay, and your name, we will call you Substitute Swickard.
I am Substitute Swickard.
Yes, you are. All right, so this is the show where we discuss all things time travel, robots, and space related in science fiction and science fact. We do it by running down a news story from each topic, time travel, robots, space, discuss our related entertainment picks, and ask and answer the question of the week. And like I said before, this is the very last episode, so I was going to say, if you wanted to watch us live in the future, well, you can't. But if you want to see the rest of our shows or this show, we archive the video at YouTube, so youtube.com/galacticnetcast, and that's where you will find episodes of the Alien Invasion podcast, previous episodes of this show, and episodes of our new thing that we'll have the details for coming up at the end of the show. So stick around for that.
I have a question for you, Dave.
Yes, Anessa, go ahead.
So, why was Paul not able to make it tonight?
Paul, tonight?
Yes.
For the very last one. Well, he's got a child.
Actually, I wanted you to play the audio. I'm too busy rocking out. That I waited on.
Oh, okay.
Dude, she lobbed the softball right over the plate for you, and you just kind of went, well, I
was so focused. I was so focused on being serious and everything.
Yeah.
So ask me again. Ask me again about Paul.
All right. So, Dave, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Why isn't Paul here tonight?
I'm sorry, I'm too busy rocking out.
He's too busy rocking out, apparently.
Makes sense.
That's the Paul we know and love. When I think Paul Swickard, I think rock star.
Yeah, it's not because of his family obligations and his life has gotten so crazy. It's because he's too busy rocking out. That's why Paul can't make it tonight, and that's why we're ending this podcast, unfortunately. Too busy rocking out.
Aww.
Yeah. Okay.
It's been fun.
Let's not be sad. Let's not be sad about it. But let's start this final episode of the Time-Traveling Robots in Space with time travel. And here we go.
Sector 1, time travel.
And I totally prepped this show like three weeks ago, so I don't even know what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Surprise!
Surprise!
So, when you think time travel, what comes to mind?
Going to other times.
Well, yeah.
An incredible amount of consumed energy.
Yep, there's that
Yes.
as well.
But do you ever think about, like, social networking when you think about time travel?
No.
No, not at all.
Well, neither do I. But researchers at Michigan Technical University are scouring the internet for evidence that we've been visited by tourists from the future. The theory is that if anyone has moved backwards through time, they may have left their mark by tweeting or updating Facebook statuses or by posting on Google Plus about it. Seems legit.
That's actually pretty ingenious. And this reminds me. Oh, whoops! This might be a spoiler. Go ahead with the rest of the
I'm like, shh. The team looked for mentions of terms before they would have entered our lexicon. The ability to backdate Facebook posts and the fact that Google Trends only picks up popular terms limited the effectiveness of those particular tools, but that did not deter the researchers.
I have a question. So, like, you would look for terms like twerking in 2008, right? Because that wasn't a term back then. Am I correct?
Right, but honestly, I would for twerking, I would imagine it would have come out around 2008, just because initially when I thought of twerking, and I saw other people actually tweet about this as well, is the fact that they combined Twitter and working, so they were twerking. It wasn't sticking your bum up in the air and shaking it.
Okay, so that's a bad example. That's a bad example.
But no, like, it's something like that. So maybe an event that's happened recently, like this supernova, well, maybe not, because there's been like 4 of those so far. I was going to say an M82, and those, it's been a very active galaxy, but maybe Pope Francis, or, I'm trying to think.
Something new that was new.
Something new. Like Comet Ison. Like, if you looked back 5 years ago, nobody knew that Comet Ison even existed.
Okay.
So that would be an example, and you would want to take a look at events like that actually happened recently, but back in like 2008, 2009, because that wasn't really a thing. They also performed a version of an experiment first conducted by Stephen Hawking in 2012, who sent out an invitation to a party after he'd already thrown it. Not surprisingly, no one traveled back in time to attend after they'd received the invitation. Now, what they did, instead of throwing a party like Stephen Hawking did, was they asked people to tweet with the hashtags, "I can change the past to," like number 2, and "I cannot change the past to," like the number 2. And then they searched for messages, including those tags, that would have been sent before they put out the call to the would-be time travelers. Sadly, though, none of their work turned up any evidence that there are currently people from the future in our midst. Of course, we already know that they're here. Nick Cage is only evidence we need. So the full academic paper awaits you in this article, so you can actually read about their study. And
for those of you that are confused by Inessa's statement, they found a picture a couple of years ago of somebody from like the 1800s that looked exactly like Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, it is crazy.
wasn't there one for like Brad Pitt too? Brad Pitt or somebody else?
I don't remember, because I want to say like Nick Cage's picture was from like the Civil War or something.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But yeah, it's crazy. But I like their idea and how they went about doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So
it sounds like they took Stephen Hawking's idea and kind of expanded on it a little bit.
Yeah, they made it social, because I guess they figure, well, people are going to travel back in time. They're going to do stuff. They're going to see all these logos of Facebook and Twitter and Google+, and then they're probably going to look that up and be like, oh, well, I'm just going to tweet. I'm going to socialize with these people from the past and whatnot, because that could totally not go wrong in any way, shape, or form.
No, you couldn't affect the future. Well, yeah.
So, yeah.
No, interesting experiment. That's a fun little experiment.
It is.
Yeah.
So now when you think of time travel, you can include Twitter.
All right, because that's all we need is more social networking in our lives.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's your time travel. We would love to know what you thought of that story or anything else that we're talking about on this episode or previous episodes. You can leave us feedback. Email galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. We also have a voicemail number, and that's 805-328-3966, 805-328-3966. That can also be used as a text number. Of course, message and data rates may apply. We love your feedback, so let us know what you think of the stuff we're talking about tonight. And, if you have, not sad thoughts, but if you have fond thoughts of the time-traveling robots in space, we would love to hear your final feedback on that, and we'll talk about it on the new show. Right? Yeah.
What new show?
Oh, no, I wasn't supposed to say anything yet, right? Okay, sorry.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, all right, let's just move on then to this.
Sector 2. Robots.
Brad, you've got it, man. Go ahead.
So, scientists are actually setting things in motion with a project so that robots learn and can network without humans.
Yeah, this is probably the scariest story that I've come upon in a long, long time.
The idea behind it is very benign, but yeah, when you think about some of the horror movie plots or sci-fi movie plots where things like this go horribly wrong, we'll go into this story so you get the more of the details and you can make your own decision on that. Scientists are ready to demo a project 4 years in the making, in which a cloud-based hive mind for robots uploads and downloads information to learn new tasks from each other, completely independent of humans.
When I hear hive mind, I think of the Borg. I'm sorry.
Yes. Comparisons to the Terminator's Skynet began flooding in all the way back to 2011 when a breakthrough was made after researchers formed the Robo-Earth project. One result has been a medical robot capable of independently learning to pick up objects and serve them to bedridden patients. That's how it always starts, though, doesn't it? As their website explains, the goal is to allow robotic systems to benefit from the experience of other robots, paving the way for rapid advances in machine cognition and behavior, and ultimately for more subtle and sophisticated human-machine interaction. Robo-Earth's World Wide Web-style database stores knowledge generated by humans and robots in a machine-readable format. The creators of this project explain that this will include navigation maps, locations of objects, knowledge of new tasks, and various upgrades on how to manipulate the environment around them. And we will have a link to the full article in the show notes. Discuss.
You know, you combine this, Anessa, with the robot that we talked about on a previous episode that was supposed to be your companion for your last days, your last living.
Yeah, like if no one else could be there.
Yeah, End of Life Detected. Remember that one?
Yeah, that's because that's totally comforting.
Yeah.
No, and actually, I was when Brad was reading the story, it made me start thinking because it's talking about like networking without humans and learning off of each other. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how they sent. Huh?
Somebody else's podcast? I don't think that's allowed, is it?
What?
Damn it. Well, it was the Osgood. I think it was the Osgood file. So they're only like
cool.
1 minute clips.
Awesome.
And so like their topics are varied. They're not really competing with us, but they were talking about ants that had been sent up to the International Space Station, and they wanted to see how the ants would react in a microgravity environment. Because down here on Earth, they have their network where they can create their nest or their tunnels and whatnot in the Earth, but without gravity to basically help direct them on where they need to go. They wanted to see how they can adapt to their environment, or if they could. And what they found was like the ants were able to modify their structures in a way that basically works for the ants. And the reason behind this is because they want to be able to learn from the ants, create like an algorithm to give to like a robot and have it learn more and adapt to its environment without humans saying, oh, well, this obstacle is here, go around it or whatever. So it needs to pay attention to what's going on. And so that's what it made me think about, was these ants as well learning not from people but on their own and
Yeah, I
evolving.
get. And you'd think that robots and ants would learn better, learn faster, or learn differently from each other than from us trying to tell them what to do, because we don't know them. We're not a robot. We're not them. You know?
You don't know me. It had kind of that vibe to it.
Yeah, I got it.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but we're basically trying to create like these things that don't need us to learn. And that's kind of a scary idea, because
It
you
is
never
scary.
know what it could evolve to.
It is scary, but it seems more efficient at the same time too.
Oh
It's
yeah,
kind of-
it's definitely more efficient than having some guy at the controllers going, oh, hey, watch out. So
Yeah.
instead, the robot can be like, oh, hey, there's a lake there. I'm going to go around it, or whatever
then-
robots would do.
And then one day they'll be like, "Oh, we don't need these humans anymore. Let's just get rid of them."
They get in the way of everything.
Yeah.
Pew, pew, pew.
When the interconnected robots get connected to everything. This is totally the plot of Robopocalypse, which I've been listening to forever. But it's pretty much the same. I mean, it starts with one thing, and it grows. It moves from machine to machine, or it's a computer system to computer system. It's kind of scary.
Well, it's crazy.
Yeah, don't let Google get a hold of this technology.
Yeah,
Too
it
late.
sounds like something Google would do.
Yeah, since I prepped this show, there's been some big news in that area. They've acquired like two more, I think, a couple more robotics companies and an artificial intelligence company. So you know what they're doing. You know what they're up to. They want to
Yep.
make real androids, not just an Android phone. Real, actual androids. Brad, any
That's
thoughts
crazy.
on this story?
Boy, I was listening to a different podcast as well, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
You.
Well, that's how I have over. I think I have close to 200 hours on Stitcher now. So
Yeah, no, I listened.
You
to
probably do.
yeah, I haven't checked in a while.
I'll check it out now.
But it was a what was it? They were doing a kind of a Q&A session of what was it? Whatever.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, Neil deGrasse Tyson's show. They were talking about different science-based things in his podcast, as they do every week. And one of the questions that a listener asked was, will machines gain sentience? And Neil deGrasse Tyson said that unless a system was programmed with that in mind, if that was programmed for that goal, no, it wouldn't just accidentally happen. You'd have to set up the structure and everything for it to come about.
But there's going to be a scientist out there going, let's try that.
It's like, I wonder if I can make that happen.
Yeah, and that could and probably will happen at some point in time. What I'm trying to say here is right now they have a limited capability of, it's not necessarily thinking for themselves. It's, they run into a situation and they're pulling from a database to acquire new skills, but not acquire, independent thought. Does that make sense? They run into an obstacle, they check a database to see if there's information on it, and if they don't have anything, well, they're stuck, and if there is, then it draws from that database. I don't think that necessarily fully mimics sentience, so I don't think that we really have to to worry about the Skynet scenario in this particular case.
Do you think you could put a new algorithm into a existing computer system, a robotic computer system, and that would tell it to gain sentience, or do you think it would come from the operating system, like the base operating system?
I think it'd have to come from a combination of the two, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and wow. It would be so complicated to, I mean, if you think of this sci-fi premise that, you know, if something did gain sentience, that it would be so unwieldy, I guess is what I'm trying to say, to draw on all these different databases and whatnot to have sentient thought. It would have to really have a large storage area, I think, that it was readily attached to, that it didn't, you know, the lag that there would be if you had, say, my computer somehow were to gain sentience, but then somehow tapped into the NSA's huge storage system of information and whatnot and was trying to think, quote unquote, through that.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to go through the internet to connect all that information, I think would be way too slow. I think you'd have to actually build a system in-house to do something like that, to have the speed that you'd really need to achieve sentience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thought. What about having, and this might be what you were talking about, having one major, like one controlling brain, and then have a bunch of computers or a bunch of robots and androids connected to that brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so that the brain is, and all these like sub-computers were contributing to the brain, quote-unquote, brain's database, but I think it would have to be directly connected to the brain to make that work. I think it would be so inefficient for you to, you know, pour yourself a glass of water if, you know, you had to wait 30 seconds to move your arm, you know, to grab the glass, and another 30 seconds to move the glass to the sink, and another 30 seconds to grab your other arm and then, you know, turn on the water. You know, it's horribly inefficient, and if something had sentience and had to wait that long, I mean, we don't have patience for that. I somehow doubt a thinking computer would have the patience for that as well.
All right, time will tell, I guess. We'll see what happens in the future.
In the future!
Yeah,
All right.
and totally not related to the robots, but Brad's got like 193 hours and 46 minutes, not including whether or not he lives in the day.
I got 76 hours right now. I checked.
Bam! Look at you go.
Yeah, I'm catching up
I
to
have
you.
188.37.
Wow, I got a ways to go. I better get on it. All right. That's the robots. Before we go to space, I want to thank the sponsor, one of the sponsors of this Time Traveling Robots in Space podcast, and that's Audible. Man, we should talk about Stitcher here, right? Put Stitcher here on Audible.
Switch spots.
We'll switch spots.
Hey, how about we do that? Yeah, Stitcher. If you are jealous about all of our hours listening, get on it. What you do is you go to Stitcher.com/GalacticNetcasts. Stitcher.com/GalacticNetcasts, and enter the promo code GalacticNetcasts, and that tells Stitcher that we are sending you their way. And if you're curious as to what exactly we're talking about, Stitcher is an app that you put on your device, your smart device, your intelligent device, and stream audio, stream podcasts, stream news updates to your Android phone, your iPhone, your BlackBerry phone, whatever smart device. They pretty much have them all covered with their own apps. So again, go to Stitcher.com/GalacticNetcasts and enter the promo code GalacticNetcasts. You can stream audio, and there's an offline mode where you download the shows first, and then if you're not in an area with data connection, you can just listen to them on your device. They download to your local hard drive there, whatever. Help me out. I guess it is a hard drive.
Your storage on your device?
Your flash
Yes.
memory.
Flash memory storage device. Yes.
Back in my day. Yeah.
With floppies. Stitcher.com/Galactic Netcasts and enter the promo code Galactic Netcast. We thank Stitcher for their support of the Galactic Netcasts network. All right. It is time for, hang on, I gotta find the right thing here. This thing right here.
Sector 3. Space.
All right, so Japanese scientists have an ingenious plan to clean up space. Any ideas? Without looking. Any thoughts?
I already peeked ahead.
Okay. Vanessa, do you know the answer?
I haven't looked ahead, but giant vacuum cleaner?
Pretty close, actually. Researchers at the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency have developed what they call an electrodynamic tether made from tiny wires of stainless steel and aluminum. The idea is that one end of the strip will be attached to one of the thousands of dead satellites or bits of rockets that are jamming up space and endangering working equipment. The electricity generated by the tether as it swings through the Earth's magnetic field is expected to have a slowing effect on the space junk, which should, scientists say, pull it into a lower and lower orbit, eventually moving it into the atmosphere where the space junk would burn harmlessly long before it has crashed into the planet's surface. So it sounds like it's using kinetic and magnetic energy here. Brad or Anessa, what do you guys think?
It sounds really complicated, and there's a lot of moving parts, but it would be awesome if it worked, because, good Lord, we've got a lot of garbage in space.
Yeah, and if we get too much, then we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, now they're sending up microsatellites. So it's even more junk in space.
Yep.
Although I think the microsatellites, they actually end up, they're low enough, I think, to actually get into the atmosphere and burn up rather quickly. So maybe that's
probably.
Yeah. A satellite developed for this project is expected to be launched into space on February 28th with the tether aboard, in which they'll be testing, or in which they'll be extending the 1,000-foot tether in orbit to observe the transfer of electricity. So I'm guessing that they actually use the atmosphere or use the magnetic field to generate the electricity. That's what it sounds like, at least.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
The actual reeling in of orbiting rubbish will be the objective of future experiments. More than 20,000 bits of cast-off equipment, including old satellites, pieces of rocket, and other fragments, are uselessly orbiting the Earth in a band 500 to 900 miles above the surface of the planet at terrific speed. Terrific. Fantastic speed.
You never hear anything about mediocre speed.
No.
For orbiting objects.
Okay speed?
Well, if it was mediocre speed, it probably wouldn't be orbiting for very long.
That's very true.
Wait a second. Is that a Spaceballs thing? Mediocre speed, or is that?
No, that's ludicrous speed.
Ludicrous speed.
They've gone plaid.
I was thinking about the what is it, Mega Maid or something?
Yeah.
With the vacuum cleaner. She's taught from suck to blow.
Suck.
That fits in perfectly. We segued into talking about that without even thinking about it.
Yep.
Genius. So I hope this works. I'm actually starting to worry about all those pieces of junk up there. It keeps me up at night.
Really?
Poor Dave.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. But
Well, thank goodness for that.
But I think about it once in a while. I mean, if we get too much of that stuff, we're not going to be able to leave. If we can't leave, we're not going to be able to explore the solar system and then the galaxy. Right?
That is very true.
It is.
So let's.
We'll be stuck here forever.
Although that could lead to a situation where if somebody's stranded in space, they could develop like a Salvage 1 type spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody here remember the 80s short-lived show Salvage 1?
No, I do not. Was it live
I
action?
do not.
Yes, it was.
Whoa! Winner, dinner.
What's that?
I just said winner, chicken dinner.
Andy Griffith was actually in that show.
Oh, okay.
And it was loosely based on a, and I think we had this story somewhere, about a farm or farmer who created a rocket out of like an old silo, or some equipment, and that's what it was based off of.
There was a movie kind of like that a few years ago, wasn't there? Where it was a farmer who made a rocket in his barn. I swear to God. What was that? The Tommy Lee Jones was in it. He played the main character, I think.
I don't remember that.
Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Brad's searching ability, this is what he's famous for on the Alien Invasion podcast.
Harry runs a salvage operation in which he and his partners reclaim trash and junk and sell it as scrap, or as other things. Harry has a homemade spaceship, which he sometimes uses to reclaim junk satellites.
Oh, okay.
And it starred Andy Griffith, Joel Higgins, whom I got nothing. Trish Stewart, who, let's see, oh, good Lord, she stopped acting in 1981, not too long after Salvage 1.
Oh.
Bad experience, perhaps?
Well, she had a couple of episodes of a TV miniseries called Wild Times in 1980. She appeared in an episode of Trapper John M.D. She appeared in a episode of The Love Boat in 1981 and an episode of Fantasy Island in 1981, and then she was done.
Okay. Maybe
because I'm. Go ahead.
What's the show called again?
Salvage 1.
I wonder if that's available anywhere, like Netflix or Hulu or.
Boy.
Can one of you look it up while we?
Yeah, actually, looks like somebody put together like a bootleg thing. Oh wait, no. It looks like. Wait for it. Wait for it. Salvage 1 Golden Orbit. It looks like it is 60 minutes. So I think it was the pilot episode. And it is available for $20.95 on Amazon.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Just for a pilot episode?
Not going to happen.
Wow.
I'm guessing you could probably find that on YouTube, or you could...
Yeah, you can probably find it on YouTube.
Yeah, most likely.
They do have another episode, or another disc called Hard Water. Another 60 minutes.
Okay.
Is that another $20?
Another $20.
Can't be that good. Can't be that good. Sorry.
Well, it went on for 2 seasons. Hang on.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, it might be a season and a half. Let me take a look at this real quick. Oh, ouch. Let's see. Season 1 had... excuse me. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 episodes for Season 1, and Season 2 Had 6 episodes. So yeah,
Okay.
season
So
and a half.
it was like 3/4 of a U.S. television series season,
Yeah.
and for the first season, and then for the second season, more like a British season or series.
Well,
Yeah.
both could really be considered like British seasons, I guess.
Yeah, depending on what show, I guess.
Yeah, depending on the show.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm curious. Now we're curious about your picks, but first we need to thank. See, now I have to go back. I'm confused. I'm all discombobulated here. Audible, audible.com, sponsoring
Yes.
Galactic Netcast. For you, our listeners, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the chance to check out their service. And to go along with the theme of this particular podcast, may we suggest Reality 36 by Guy Haley. What a great name, Guy Haley. Richards, a level 5 AI, and his partner, Klein, a decommissioned German military cyborg, are on the trail of a murderer, but the killer has hidden inside a fragmenting artificial reality. Richards and Klein must stop him before he becomes a god for the good of all realities. Again, that's Reality 36. A lot of virtual reality going on here. A lot of inside the machine type stuff going on here. Reality 36. You can get that as part of your free 30-day and free download from audible.com or any other book that you choose. But we are giving you that first 30 days for free. Just go to audibletrial.com/galacticnetcasts, audibletrial.com/galacticnetcasts. And we thank Audible for their support of the Time-Traveling Robots in Space podcast.
Wow,
All right.
there's that has a series of books with it.
Really? Yeah, I've noticed that most books now come in series. There's not a whole lot of standalone books anymore. You at least have 3 books in your series if you want to be taken seriously in today's day and age.
There's a second book in the series called Omega Point.
Sounds good. So yeah, get that as your pick. Or no, you wouldn't want to get that because unless you read the first one first, like some other means.
Yeah, it would probably behoove you to get Reality 36 first, but if you do enjoy it, you can move on to the next one, Omega Point. And if you've got the 30-day free trial, boom, get in there. You can get right on that.
I just love the fact that there's a German military robot.
Investigate it. Schnell! Sorry.
9!
All right, let's move on to picks.
Sorry.
Brad, do you want to start? Wait, you guys have the same pick.
Yes.
And I hate you both for this.
It was an awful movie. Oh. I can't even say it with a straight face. It was awesome.
You're just saying.
I was trying to make you feel better, but I can't do it. I really can't. So, Anessa and I decided to watch a movie, as we oft do.
Hang on one second. For the time-traveling robots in space listeners who may not know this.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are a thing. You guys, boyfriend, girlfriend, so you guys do stuff together. All right. Move on.
You didn't make that sound dirty at all with your dirty old man voice. And they do stuff together.
So we were on the couch, and I'm like, hey, HBO Go. And they had this movie on there, so we decided to watch it.
What is the movie?
Frequently Asked Questions About Time Travel.
Starring one of the greatest actors of our generation,
Chris O'Dowd.
Yes. Love that guy.
For those of you who are not familiar with Chris O'Dowd, he really known mostly as Roy from the IT crowd. Also, he had a bit part in Thor 2 as Natalie Portman's sort of date for part of the movie. No, he's a very good. He's actually does a series, I think, that's on Hulu that is semi-autobiographical about a little boy who has a kind of a horrible imaginary friend.
That's gonna be on PBS. PBS is gonna show that, I believe.
Okay.
I saw a promo for that.
Yeah. Anyways, to the movie. Actually, I've been talking for a bit. You go, Vanessa.
Ooh. So, frequently asked questions about time traveling is basically a movie about these three guys that are at a pub and they're drinking, and they're really nerdy. They like to talk about nerdy things, and they have various discussions and debates, and the topic of time travel starts to come up, and one of them gets up to go to the restroom, and when he comes out, everyone in the bar is dead.
Whoa.
And he like freaks out, and he like runs back to the restroom, and when he leaves again, he's like back in his time. And it apparently turns out that there's like these portals or rifts or whatever in time, and they're not supposed to be there. And so there's one apparently in the bathroom, and like he comes out and they're talking about stuff, and you just end up with like a lot of paradoxes and weird situations. But it's really entertaining, and like I recommend giving it a watch.
It's mostly funny, right? It's fun. It's a comedy.
Yeah, it's a comedy. But there's just, various situations that wouldn't really be funny. Like I said, like the guy goes to the bathroom, he comes out, and like everyone's been like shot dead, and he doesn't know what happened, and he freaks out and he runs back.
Including himself.
Yeah, including himself. He sees himself and like his other friends laying there dead. Like everyone he knows plus a bunch of other random strangers in the pub, like dead. And so he like really freaks out about it, and he runs back to the bathroom and comes back, and he's like, "Oh my God, guys, guess what happened?" And they're like, "Ah, whatever. You're totally like you've had too much to drink." And he's like, "No, come on, for real. Like I'm not lying about this." And so he gets them to all go into the restroom, and they're like, "Okay,
That was
huh?"
hard to get. I bet you that was hard to get all the guys go into the bathroom at once.
I know, because it's not really a guy thing.
No.
And so they all go to the restroom at once, and they're like, "Okay, so what did you do?" And so he's there, and he's singing a song, and he's making them do the exact same thing to see if it happens again. So he goes through the steps of going to the restroom, and he's standing there at the urinal singing and kind of swaying back and forth. And then he goes to like wash his hands, and then like dries his hands in the dryer, and is looking at the mirror, and then he goes out, and because that's what he did the first time, and so the second time they try to do this to replicate like this event. So it's
What happens?
Well, the thing that I found interesting about it is that even though it is a comedy, the whole structure of time travel for this particular, if you want to call it universe, or for this whole situation is pretty tight. There are, they set up the rules of, how to avoid paradoxes. There's actually a person there that Chris O'Dowd runs into that he finds out she's there tracking the rift. There's supposed to be a rift in the area, and he keeps running into her out of sequence in time. But the whole treatment of time travel is actually set up in a tight format, and they don't break the rules that they set for it. So it's really kind of an interesting setup as to why the rift is there, what time travel is about, why certain people travel in time, how this person who is there, played by Anna Faris, who is there to close this rift, how she is able to travel through time, which is really fascinating. So the whole thing overall, I think the mechanics are tight, and then it's just it's draped in comedy.
Sounds brilliant. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I highly, highly recommend it.
Cool. I'm gonna have to find it. I'm gonna have to find it somehow, some way, somehow, because it's not available anywhere except for HBO.
No, it's not. But what I'm thinking though is now that it's been on HBO Go, and probably just HBO period, that maybe they'll release the rights and have it streamed through Netflix or Amazon, or at least be purchased digitally. I haven't checked iTunes or anything to see if it's there, but
Is it
right now on Amazon you can buy the DVD, but it's a different region than here in the U.S.
Yeah, if you have a DVD player that is regionless or has been hacked to be regionless, you could purchase it and watch it.
Okay. Well,
the version that they have is Region 2, and I think we are Region 1.
Region 1.
no, there's always torrents.
There is that.
Or borrow somebody's HBO code, password, whatever.
That's what I did.
Which, you know, I read a thing this week. HBO actually doesn't mind that people do that.
So, that's cool though. You know, if HBO offered that, like the HBO Go feature as something similar to Netflix,
Yeah, $10
like they'd get a lot more money.
$10 a month. Well, they get so much money from cable companies, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, to make it available to like other people, but then I guess that would take away from the cable companies and they get on their bad side or whatever. But
yeah.
I mean, I would totally pay.
Yeah, I would pay $10 a month. You know,
Yep.
I'd pay more than Netflix to get HBO Go.
So.
All right. Yeah, this is not a technology show.
Oh, and yeah, not technology related, not really frequently asked questions related. I guess I have like another pick. I went to go see Her over the weekend.
Ooh, yeah.
Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, I think I described it as like awkward, but
I've only seen the Jonah Hill Saturday Night Live takeoff on it, which was hilarious.
Yeah, it was interesting. I actually liked it. It was slightly awkward because the essential premise is, of course, everyone's attached in some way, shape, or form. So they have like these little earpieces that they wear, and they have like their cell phones in their hand, so they can listen to their phone and give it voice commands and access information on their phone if they want to like actually see it. And like the phone and the earpiece is all connected to their computer at home. So it's all one operating system.
Okay.
And so there's a new operating system that comes out that has artificial intelligence. And Joaquin Phoenix plays the main character, which I can't think of the main character's name right now. And he essentially works for this company that writes like love letters and stuff for other people. Like other people will send them photographs and basically give them like a little backstory. And some of these people he's been writing letters for like years. So he's like a part of the family and he sees how the kids grow up, but they're just really crappy at writing letters. So they're like, here, can you help me out? And so it's a company that writes letters. And
What a terrible thing. I mean, come on.
I know. And so, like, he's gone through this breakup. He's really lonely, and he ends up getting this operating system that has artificial intelligence, and he just starts to, like, really like the operating system, and the operating system kind of evolves on its own like the intelligence. It's like, oh, I'm experiencing all these things, and so no, I actually really enjoyed it. And while it wasn't like an actual robot or anything, there weren't any robots that I can think of. Just the idea of creating an operating system that has some sort of artificial intelligence where it can help you out, be like, oh, hey, I noticed that you forgot this, or like, I was looking through your emails, and a lot of these you haven't even looked at for years, so we can clear out all of these, and I read this, and so I just thought that was a really interesting concept, and
Sounds a lot like
it's actually a pretty good movie.
sounds a lot like Google now. Google serves things up to you before you or without you even, asking for it. It's like, here, this is so and so minutes to a location that you were, or it tracks packages, or
Yeah, because Google does that, Apple does that,
Yep.
but they don't give themselves a name, and that's like the first thing that the new operating system did, because he was like awkward, because upon setup it asks a couple of questions, and then he just starts going off about like motherly issues, like issues with his mom, and then like the computer cuts him off, and then he's like, okay, well, here is your new computer, and the operating system comes on and asks him a couple of questions, and he's like, so do you have a name? And she's like, yes, I do. It's Samantha. And he's like, oh, like, who gave you that? She's like, I just went through like this whole list of names, and that's the one I really like the best. So.
Wow, that is sentient.
Yeah,
operating.
so it stars Joaquin Phoenix, and it has Scarlett Johansson as Samantha, the computer.
Yeah, and she wasn't even the original voice. I guess they did the whole thing with somebody else, and they didn't like her, or there was test audiences that said they didn't like that voice. So Scarlett Johansson came in last minute and did the voice for that.
I think she did a good job. So.
Yeah. From the previews I've seen, it seems like she does a bang-up job.
Yeah, so I would recommend that.
All right.
As well.
Good. Great pick. Great picks, guys. My pick is Elysium, which I believe Paul had as a pick when it was in theaters. But I saw this. My fiancée, Stephanie, and I saw this together. See, you're not the only ones that can watch things together.
Aww.
No, I'm not. It's totally not a competition. Elysium, written, directed by Neil Blomkamp. He's the guy responsible for District 9. Remember that movie? Great movie. Starring Matt Damon, Jodie Foster, and Charlton Copley, which was the guy from District 9. He was the main character from District 9. In this one, he plays the bad guy. So, yeah. Whoa, hang on one second. In this one, he plays the bad guy.
Bomb.
I couldn't resist. In the year 2154, the very wealthy live on a man-made space station while the rest of the population resides on a ruined Earth. A man takes on a mission that could bring equality to the polarized world. So basically, it follows... I don't want to give away too much. It's an awesome film. Not the best one I've seen this year, but it was pretty good. Matt Damon plays the main character, and he's basically forced into working for this very shady guy that he's worked for before, and he has to get to the space station. He has to break the security and get to basically take over the space station, Elysium, where all these rich people live. It's very the rich are really, really rich, and the poor are really, really poor. Like the main location on Earth that they are in is Los Angeles, and it looks like it could be like a really, really bad place in Mexico, or a really, really bad place in Africa, like Rwanda, or, some really, really desolate, just poverty-filled place. So you really see both ends of the scale. You see the really, really rich. They've got these machines that they scan themselves for cancer, and if they find cancer or some other disease, it gets wiped out there with the machine. So there's that. And they just have everything given to them. The reason that this fits into our podcast is there are a lot of robots in this movie, and there are a lot of evil robots in this movie, or evil or not very nice robots. Like the Matt Damon character goes into the doctors to get diagnosed for this thing that he caught. I'm not going to say anything more, but basically, the robots are the first line of defense in this like triage, and they're not very like courteous. They're not very warm. They're basically said, "Here, have your pills and go." So, yeah, that's not the kind of future that I really want to live in. It's very,
No.
very, very bleak future. But it's got that District 9 look to it, very kind of washed out, and I like that a lot. This movie could have been better. Have you guys seen Elysium? Both you guys?
I have not.
Brad?
No.
Okay. Well, I recommend it. It's just not as good as some other science fiction films that came out in 2013. Like I'd say that Vanessa, what's the one with Tom Cruise?
Oblivion?
Oblivion was awesome. This one was not as good as Oblivion, or not as good as After Earth. I thought After Earth was actually better than this one. So.
I've not seen either of those.
But still worth the watch. So I do recommend Elysium. Again, that is my pick, and we'll have the link in the show notes and on Galactic Netcasts on the store link where you can buy it, and that will help out the network in your own little way. Through your entertainment, you help out us. All right. Final. What's that?
Sorry, the original actress who did the voice of Samantha, was Samantha Morton.
Oh, wow. They kept the name.
And Samantha Morton, Spike Jonze, she was on set talking with Joaquin Phoenix and, doing the whole thing. And then as he was putting it together, he felt that something was missing. And so with her blessing, he recast the part of Samantha. And I thought, how do you, even if you are Spike Jonze, an amazing director, get an actress who's won a number of awards and is a very talented actress to, with her blessing, recast her part? And I did a little further looking into her, and she was working on a movie, and I didn't see which one it was, but she was actually hit in the head with a chunk of 17th century plaster.
Oh my God.
Which caused her to have a stroke, and she had to basically go into physical therapy and speech therapy to try to get everything back.
That's terrible.
Yeah, in 2006, this happened. She spent time in physical and speech therapy, learned how to walk and remaster her speaking skills. She went straight from therapy to do a movie. She reports that she still has slight disfluency. Sentences are spaced differently, but she was given a clean bill of health. So that may have had something to do with why it was recast.
Okay, it's possible. Interesting. Thanks for the background information there, Brad.
I'm sure that's more than anybody wanted to know about why the voice of her was recast with Scarlett Johansson, but there you go.
I think we were all curious, to tell you the truth, so thank you for digging that up.
Yeah.
Okay. Final part of this podcast, this last podcast, is Question of the Week. All right, here we go. You guys ready?
I think so.
If you were the leader, if you were a leader, or the leader of a resistance movement in the battle to win the robot apocalypse, what would your strategy be to defeat the robots? This is kind of a complicated one.
I would defeat them using my super awesome friendly robot that I think I named Roger that gives high fives and hugs. He would just hug them all to death.
He would win them over. He would turn them around
Exactly.
with his
Sure.
robot high fives and hugs.
Robo high fives and hugs.
Yeah. So you defeat them with kindness.
Yes.
All right. I like that answer a lot. Brad, top that.
Boy, you're not gonna like my answer.
What? Pull the plugs.
Virus.
Well, I have a friend who's a physicist, and he teaches physics in university in Illinois, and I know some other people, and I would try to find a way to make a EMP device of some sort so that we could make it into a gun or a grenade and cause the robots to malfunction because electromagnetic pulses are being emitted at them or near them to screw them up.
No, that's a great answer. That makes the most sense. That's the most logical answer that you could give.
Yeah, it's
Boy.
way more logical than Roger the Robot winning them over with high fives and
See,
hugs.
That's not-
you know what's really sad is that really kind of in our relationship, you're like the really happy-go-lucky, hey, here's this thing, and I'm the huge wet blanket, and you're the joy and the laughter.
You're Debbie Downer. Brad?
Not necessarily Debbie Downer, but it's like, how do I do this thing? And I'm like, oh, well, maybe you need to do this, and this is all just joy and optimism and
You've got the engineer's brain. You know?
yeah, I kind of do the puzzle. I'm more the puzzle guy.
Yeah.
How does it work? Yeah.
I honestly don't have an answer for this. I was thinking Jacks or like Tinker Toys to kind of just spread in their path, so they would like trip over them, like unless they were if they were on rollers, if they were like a tracked robot, then it would get caught up in their like the ball bearings and that kind of thing, the joints or the moving parts. And then if they were walking robots, they would hit those and trip and fall. That's the best answer I got.
Thinking about the Google, the cheetah, the robot that runs at like 29 miles an hour. What you need to do is get them near huge pools filled with non-Newtonian fluids, so you get like a really fast-moving robot that would. Well, no, if it's moving really fast, it would be able to run across it. Never mind.
Yeah. You know what you need? This works in every single movie that came out in the 1970s and 60s. You need the stuff that you fall into that makes you sink. What's
Quicksand?
quicksand? Yes. Every Tarzan movie I watch, there's quicksand.
Or do you remember the 70s sci-fi movie Saturn V?
Yes.
With Farrah Fawcett and the robot. What was it? Argo? Ares? I can't remember. But he had like the huge brain case, and they ended up, I think, tricking him and getting him to fall into incredibly cold liquid. I can't remember if it was a cryonics thing or if it was just he got him to break through the crust of the planet or something where there was like, the really cold natural fluids underneath that just
How about liquid
super
nitrogen?
frozen.
Liquid nitrogen. Just
There
a
you
bunch
go.
of big vats of liquid nitrogen lying around.
Boom.
Or what movie or TV show was that defeated the robot or some kind of artificial intelligence with being? Oh, this was the Star Trek episode. Kirk confused those robots, those women robots, with something that didn't make any sense. Remember?
That's right.
Love is hate is love kind of thing. That's what I would do.
Yep.
Boom. Bam.
Or
And their heads would explode.
yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what Paul would do? he would have all of mankind be excellent to each other,
Yes.
and that's how he would defeat the robots.
Yep, exactly. So, Paul, wherever you are, that's your answer to this week's question.
Sounds kind of like M. Night Shyamalan with oh god, what was that movie that he had where it was like this virus or something that was like spreading around, and spoiler alert, it was love that like cured everything,
Oh.
No, that was the Earth killing everything.
or the Earth or whatever.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I forget the name of that one.
I
It
don't
wasn't too
remember.
bad. I liked it. Who was
So
was it? Keanu Reeves was in that?
The Happening.
yeah, The Happening, that's what it was. I'm like, I can't even think of the name like remotely.
Mark Wahlberg,
Mark Wahlberg.
Zoe Deschanel, John Leguizamo. Trying to find names. Alan Ruck. Boy, those are the names that I really recognize.
That's about it, I think. I mean, it was just basically him, the Mark Wahlberg, and I think his wife and their kid or something like that was the basic cast of that, I believe, as I recall.
Yeah, and they just kind of encountered other people and
Yeah. Yeah.
whatnot.
Yep. All right. That is it. That is it for the Time Traveling Robots in Space. Thanks to everybody who has subscribed over the past couple of years, and really appreciate it. It is one of our first podcasts here on Galactic Netcasts, and really helped build the network out. So we really appreciate all of you listening, and we hope that you will keep on following us, because we have a brand new podcast that will be starting next week. It's going to be called the Sci-Fi Geeks Club, and basically it's going to be kind of a roundtable, hangout type podcast. Not a lot of structure, more people on it. We're going to have Brad and Nessa. We're going to have Matt from the Sci-Fi Film School, also on the Galactic Netcast Network. We're going to have guests, maybe my fiancée Stephanie. She has talked about her interest in joining us. So it's going to be like a get-together of general sci-fi geekery every week. We'll talk about what happened in the news during the week. I was thinking, what do you guys think of this idea? Kind of do a Sci-Fi Film School aspect to it, where we all watch one thing, the same thing, and talk about it. We won't necessarily have a quiz or play clips. We'll just kind of discuss it, discuss what we watched.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we could maybe every other week or something.
Yeah.
So that way
I
it gives people, especially, like Matt, who's taking classes and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
So less picks, more of like one thing that we kind of all watched and we discuss it together, or something that we've watched in the past. Doesn't necessarily have to be.
Yeah, you can just send out a thing and be like, "Hey, has everyone watched?"
Yeah, perfect.
Such and such.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, good idea. So that's one thing. We'll be bringing guests on that haven't been on the network before that I really want on our podcast. Like I have some people I know online that do podcasts already that I'm looking forward to inviting on. So yeah, that's going to be next week. We'll put it in the Time Traveling Robots in Space feed next week, but after that we'll have a separate feed. So just keep listening and keep subscribed, because it'll be right here where you get Time Traveling Robots in Space. And that's it, except for final thoughts. Let's go around the room, and let's go Brad first. Final thought. You were ready, weren't you?
Oh, well, see, as substitute Swickard, it would be Party On, dudes.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work. That'll definitely work. All right. Anessa, what's your final thought?
I really don't know. I'm gonna miss doing the Time Traveling Robots in Space.
Yeah, I know. But Paul said he's gonna come on the Sci-Fi Geeks Club once in a while, and we'll have aspects of the Time Traveling Robots in Space in it. So it's not going away completely. It's just reforming.
It's morphing. It's going
Yes.
through a metamorphosis.
All right.
Kind
And
of like Kafka.
take your word for it, because I don't know what that means. I don't know that reference.
Oh, Kafka wrote the Metamorphosis, a story about some guy that transforms into a cockroach.
In form of.
It's been a really long time since I've read it, so.
You're not getting it confused with that Saturday morning cartoon from the 1970s, The Wonder Twins?
No. Wonder Twin powers activate.
Yeah.
No, it's a German
Yeah.
story, and it's apparently very popular in German classes. I've read it for like a world lit class, I think.
Okay.
The English translation, because beyond like 4 or 5 words in German, I wouldn't be able to get very far.
Ich bin ein Berliner. That's all I know.
You're a donut.
All right. That's going to do it for Time Traveling Robots in Space. Oh, we've got one more final thought. I think we do. Hang on. Let's see. Paul, what's your final thought?
Be excellent to each other.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon somewhere.